Hey, what up, America? This your boy Bushan Glover from A Better Black America TV on YouTube. Now, today is Friday, September 7th, 2017, and Merry football season to you. Now, last night, the NFL season got kicked off. Okay, the Thursday night football, and the Atlanta Falcons actually took an L against the Philadelphia Eagles from a score of 18-12. So that means the Philadelphia Eagles won 18-12. But the part about the game actually went unhinged, and based on all of the taking knee and no knee and all that, it went unhinged because there was no issues. Either that or NBC was in cahoots with the NFL to make sure that they did not spotlight anyone taking a knee, because based on the live national anthem, which was actually sung brilliantly by Philadelphia's own Boys to Men, went unhinged. See, they didn't show not one person taking a knee. They showed every man standing up at attention. And basically, the NFL season got kicked off. So Merry football season too. We got some big games going on this weekend. But I wanted to chime in again because of the Colin Kaepernick. Now, that commercial actually aired a couple times during the game last night. And to actually see the commercial, I saw it online. But to see it during a football game, that was a beautiful thing, because you got to be willing to sacrifice everything for something that you believe in. And it's basically making a political statement more so than just selling some tennis shoes, because we do know that the Nike brand is of a urban young youth culture. And basically in the stock market today, because a couple days ago when I did a post, the Nike stock was at $78 or $79, but right now it's trending over $80. So the stock is stable, because the highest Nike has been within the 52-week range, and they just launched this campaign with Colin Kaepernick this present week. The highest Nike stock has been is $83.68, and right now it's trading at $80.36, because I'm on a live trade right now. But the Nike stock has stabilized, and a lot of people are putting their marks in the sand and deciding which way I'm going to go. And I see a lot of support, because when you are in the middle, you're not a part of the establishment, you kind of get it, and you root for the underdog. And it's a beautiful thing for Colin Kaepernick to continue on with the fight. And like I said, we're all into the change of what's to come moving forward. But today's YouTube podcast is I wanted to talk about this kid. I know it's late news, but it's a few weeks ago. This youngster actually committed suicide. This 9-year-old kid committed suicide. And apparently he committed suicide because he came out as being gay to his mother over the summer. Now, I read a few articles. I read several articles to find out how a 9-year-old could actually kill himself. And based on all the articles, I couldn't find anything that can actually that stated how he killed himself. It basically says that his mother found him unconscious. She tried to resuscitate him to no avail. But so once I start paying attention, started to peel those layers back and start to understand of what's really going on with that situation. Now, the mom, based on, just doing my research, the mom was actually photographed and had a couple pictures that I saw. And she was Caucasian, white woman, but she had purple hair. And depending on what part of town you come from, that could be classified as ratchet. And no disrespect to her, but on top of that, she was wearing a Black Lives Matters t-shirt. And while wearing a Black Lives Matters t-shirt, I thought to myself, a Caucasian woman with purple hair, wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, and then I focused on the son, the little boy, God rest his soul, was biracial, apparently with a black father, who's actually not in the picture. And that's, an issue enough with kids to be biracial, because I know, you got biracial kids out there, depending on if you grew up in a majority black community, you were picked on. If you were raised in a majority white community, you was an outsider by not being, white. So there are some issues there. And then by the mom having the purple hair and the Black Lives Matter shirt, maybe she identifies being black. So there's some identity issues there. But I pursed and I read through the story, and apparently the child came out to his mom and said that he was according to the article, that he was gay. All right, and it was a hard thing for him to do. The kid, based on the stories that I've read, that he basically was curled up and he was sad that this is what he was coming out for his mother, but his mother let him know that she fully supports him. So I thought to myself, as a 9-year-old, were we really worried about sex or identity? Because I believe this is not a sex issue. This is an identity issue, at least based on being biracial, the mother Caucasian with the Black Lives Matter shirt. So, uses some discernment. You got to try to figure out and read between the lines. But there was some identity crisis there, and that was actually clear to me. So as I began to purge or read the stories, and they all were pretty much the same, and they looked like they were actually plagiarized to me, because every story that I read was pretty typical, just cutting and pasting, and they were plagiarized. Nothing changed. Neither of all the stories that I read had or showed anything about what he actually did, because that was my original focus at the time. But then it began to see that there was some identity issues, and then apparently the kid was excited, according to his mother, about going to school and coming out to his friends. Now, as a 9-year-old, I had to think to myself, like, how would I take it if somebody came out to me as being gay as 9 years old? But as I continued to read, apparently he went to school and he had press-on fake fingernails, wearing them to school. And I thought to myself, and I said, wait a minute, now that's a different situation, because kids are brutal. Now, to go to school with press-on nails, I mean, some of us wouldn't allow our daughters, to wear fake or press-on nails to school. And for a boy to go to school, I know hindsight is 20/20, so I know the mom had to, think to herself, something could have been done, because, to explain him the ramifications of doing something like that, you have to be very strong-willed to do that. Because, I watch Love and Hip Hop, I watch reality shows, because, people that look like me, and I'm interested in what's going on in the hip hop industry, even though it's not really the hip hop scene, but it's basically the life of, or the lifestyles that's, being depicted in these shows. But in this season right now, in this Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, and there's a character in there, and it's the producer by the name of A1. And he has painted black fingernails, as well as he wears pearls, and, but as a man, he has to be secure in who he is, because he knows that that's not the norm, so to basically step out and not concerned about the criticism or who cares about the black nails and all that, you have to be strong-willed. But this is a man. So when I look at the kid is a kid. And like I said, kids are brutal. But because when I was coming up, I was taller than the average kid. It was only a few people my height in the school. So I remember the Jolly Green Giant, and before my head caught up with my body, my head was big, my lips was big. They used to bag on me, call me Beeba Baba Booba. But, as a kid, I would clap back. And then when you grow up and then you find out that women like tall guys and that these lips could pleasure a woman, you have to it balances itself out. But my point is that kids are brutal, because if you was on the darker shade, niggas, you black tar baby, you know what I'm saying? You blacker than all of this, they would clown you. And if you was overweight, they would call it fat jokes and all of that. And I remember that the lighter shade women, or the ones with good hair, they got picked on by the opposite, by the girls, back then wasn't no weaves. So the girl with the jerry curl and the little pigtails walking around with a little nappy fro, they used to want to put hands on them, on the lighter shade, on the mixed breeds and the light skins, because they were they were trying to pick on them. So kids are very brutal. It doesn't matter what your situation or disposition is, kids are going to find a way to insult you, and before I move, I got a funny story, because I didn't name my son Chris Jr. because, like I said, to walk around as Bushan as a kid and stand on it, and deal with the jokes and all of that stuff. So I was like, as a kid, I don't want him to deal with that, because boo, boo. But when I would catch the rock in football, and the crowd would boo, it was like, because that's became my nickname down the road. But as a kid, that was pretty tough. And like I said, I was a tough kid, so it didn't really bother me because, like I said, I clapped back big time. But as my son, I named him, me and his mom, we named him Christopher. We agreed to name him Christopher. So it was an incident when he was in preschool and he got in trouble, and I was like, why my son over there in the corner? Because he was fighting, and we had to separate him from the kids. I'm like, why? And they told me that the kids was teasing him. I'm like, what? They was teasing him. And I talked to him. I said, my man, what? They was teasing you. And my son turned around and told me, they was talking about my name. I'm like, your name Chris. Like, what? Like, come on. Like, what you mean? Christopher? What do you mean? How were they talking about? They said piss, Chris. So I'm just saying, kids are brutal. So from a social perspective, we're going to have to get back to the old ways, because I remember them telling us, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt us, and teaching us to deal with that ridicule. And those was our baby booming parents who got through the 60s of being called niggers and being segregated and hung on trees and all that. So they taught us how to be stealth, and not let the words hurt you. But if they touch you, you got to do something. You know what I'm saying? So, but my thing is in hindsight, to allow the kid to go to school with the fingernails. I know that's it's hindsight is 2020, that the mom had to second guess herself on that, because it could have been easily communicated and said, not yet. Let that be me and your secret, and we'll figure this thing out down the road and give him all the love and support. But then as I continue to read the story, I saw where the kid, based on the articles that I've read, the kid said, mom said to his mom, according to his mother, Mom, I know I'm a boy, but I want you to buy me girl clothes. And I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, this ain't about being gay. Okay, because there's so many gay men out there that just, you wouldn't even know that's gay. There's gay conservatives, gay Republicans. You wouldn't have a clue. So this is something different. This is an identity issue. And then as I begin, continue to read, and I saw that he had an older sister. So this kid is 9 years old. And his entire life, he's been raised with his mother and his 9-year-old sister. So all he knows is femininity. There's no testosterone in the house. It's mama and it's a sister, and he's somewhere in the middle. And, our social issues and our behavior comes from our environment. We are products of our environment. Case in point, it's a lot of men in jail right now. They was a killer because their daddy was a killer. They slung dope because their daddy slung dope. They gang banged because their brother was an OG, and the brother just weaned them into gang banging. So if you take a child, and I won this debate with some scholars at a think tank, and we were talking about the social behavior, and I basically said, if we take a child and take this child and put this child in the wilderness and allow the wolves to raise this child and come back 10 years later, I'm sure this kid is going to be howling like a wolf and believing and thinking that he or she is a wolf. And nobody debunked it. It was factual information. We was able to move on and actually got an applaud, because we are products of our environment. Just like from a social perspective, that's the Better Black America agenda, social economic empowerment. Your social and economic condition kind of box you in and put you in a place. If you come from a poor side of the tracks, or from a community where it's not privileged, or you're going to have issues because your schools might not be as good as the schools on the other side of town. You're going to have issues. Okay, you're going to kind of have to deal with certain things that average individual doesn't have to deal with. So your social condition kind of dictates your personality, kind of dictate the type of person that you are. Unless you're an introvert, you don't go outside, homeschool, things like that. But we have to understand that our social and economic issues and concerns have to be a part of our agenda moving forward as we pull away from this two-party system and become more sovereign as not only black men, but as a black race. Because last time that I checked, your sexual preference or your whatever you are doesn't trump the color of your skin. Because there's a term called white privilege. And that white privilege will get you, into some doors and get you accepted, because us non-whites, as a black man, there's some illicit biases